Let's get to the SEC. Not in football, but in college basketball. Big SEC card tonight. 7 o'clock start. Tennessee is going to take on Georgia. This game, Georgia, as the home team, opened up as a 1.5-point favorite. Still sits at most outlets at -1.5, but we are seeing some 2.5s as a favorite to Georgia starting to creep in. 159.5 is the total. An interesting caveat in this. The number one team in SEC play getting to the free throw line, that's Tennessee. You know the number one team in SEC play at not fouling? That's Georgia. An interesting one to watch tonight, Joe. What's the spread line? Tennessee, Georgia.
Well, this is interesting, right? This one was delayed from Tuesday because of the winter storm, Donnie. You know a little something about that. But this should be an interesting one because I don't know if Tennessee, who's coming off a back-and-forth transition-style game against Alabama, in which they won, by the way, they do have a little extra day's worth of rest because of the delay here, but it's not how Tennessee and Rick Barnes wants to play. Mike White, the head coach of Georgia, that's exactly how he wants to play. Georgia, one of the fastest tempo teams in the country, but I can tell you this, Rick Barnes versus Mike White. Barnes is 11-2 against White and destroying him. 8 of the 11 wins have been by double-digit fashion, so this is going to be interesting, this one. I think whoever dictates tempo and pace, Donnie, wins this game.
Let's keep it there in the SEC. Texas going to take on Auburn. 7 o'clock start here from Auburn. This line opened up overnight, Joe. 6.5 as a number. Still sits at 6.5 at most outlets. Some 5.5s starting to creep in a total, which opened up 159.5. Now dipping back, Joe, to 156.5 here. Texas Auburn spread line tonight is what?
So, trap spot here, Donnie. You got an Auburn team coming home after winning for the first time in Florida since the 90s. They went to Gainesville and beat the University of Florida on Saturday. It's the first time they've done that in forever. A huge road rivalry win. And now they come home to Texas, where they don't obviously have nearly the same kind of history that they had against Florida. So which version of Auburn shows up? They've always been better at home, Donnie, than they have been on the road. But this could be a little deflating here as they're laying 5.5. I wouldn't doubt some Texas money. Very physical Texas team come in before tip here.
Great offense, great defense. That typically travels in college basketball. Houston on the road to take on TCU. This line opened up as a 6.5-point favorite to the road team, Houston Cougars, overnight. Now, Joe, mostly 8.5s in the marketplace and a total listed at 137.5. Houston at TCU. Give me a spread line for this one.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting, this game, because Houston, who prides itself on defense, Donnie, yeah, they just gave up 90 points to Texas Tech and allowed them to shoot 41% from three. I would not want to have been in a Houston practice with Kelvin Sampson this week here, Donnie. After that, something tells me going to TCU, and TCU, very lackadaisical with the ball, turns it over too much. They're going to get dominated on the boards. This could be over in the first half, Donnie. I expect Houston to come out screaming in this one here. And TCU, although they've held their own recently, I just don't see Jamie Dixon and the Horned Frogs being able to keep up with a very angry Houston team right now.
Anger, defend that three-point line here. We know Houston likes to foul, but is also very aggressive. Let's take a look at that AP top 25 in men's college basketball coming into this week. The top 5, Arizona, UConn, Michigan, Duke, and Nebraska. And Nebraska was one of those undefeated teams here that lost a close battle in Big Ten play, so they're probably going to drop a little bit in the standings here. But Arizona, number 1, and still undisputed national champions. Maybe they're undefeated.
Yeah, they are undefeated, and they pretty hostile environment there in Provo that they had to go into a couple of nights ago, Donnie, get it done against a very good BYU team. So the road is pretty clear for Arizona here. Certainly, it feels like will be one of the number 1 seeds come March Madness. This team's got it all, and we saw it in that first game against Florida, and I told you, that kid Koa Pete, and this team they are legit. They've got a chance to run this table and be a national champion without a doubt.
How about this in the SEC? We're not talking about men's basketball, women's college basketball. Apparently the sport does run through the SEC. A record 10 top 25 teams are listed in the SEC. South Carolina, Texas, Vandy, LSU, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Kentucky, Georgia, and Alabama. How about that? Oh, man.
They are good, Donnie. I mean, it's a couple of good Big 12 teams as well, but they got, the women's side here going some fresh faces now, not the same old anymore like we've seen in years past with the South Carolinas and the Tennessees of the world.
How about those SEC schools not named with the women's that we just talked about? How about flip it over to the men's? Tuscaloosa looks like it's going to be a playground for. Is he playing? Is he not playing? Charles Bediaco's temporary restraining order against the NCAA has been extended 10 more days due to the NCAA's counsel's unavailability for a hearing in Tuscaloosa. Does that mean that he can play over the next 10 days? Then they might take it away. Then he can still play some basketball again. Love it when the court system decides when a player can actually play.
Yeah, I love how now the NCAA is requesting a new judge in the situation because, he might have some ties to Alabama. You think a state judge in Alabama with a tie to Alabama? Shocking. So good luck with that. In the meantime, Donnie, the 23-year-old, he dropped 13 points, grabbed 3 rebounds, and played 25 minutes for Alabama. Does that game not count now if he's not allowed to play again now? I don't understand. How does that work?
Yeah, and how do you get around any of it? Like, judges are going to be intertwined anyway. Oh, we can't have a guy from Alabama. And then everybody goes, okay, let's move it to somewhere neutral. Okay, we'll give a judge that has a big booster to Auburn, and he's going to be in charge of this. Yeah. Or a big we're going to move it out of state to Florida as if they would vote in Alabama's direction that way anyway. It's a tough scenario all the way around, but they started to dig this grave, the NCAA and the coaches and the players, and it's just getting deeper and deeper right now. Only 2 perfect teams left in Division I men's college basketball. It's the number 1 team in the nation at 21-0 Arizona, and survival of the fittest again yesterday. Number 24, Miami, Ohio, 21-0, pulling out a victory over UMass.
Yeah, you gotta love that, right? I mean, what a game it was. I mean, Nebraska, I gotta give them credit. They had to do it without their 2 big stud guys there. Mast and Frager were not available for this game. Ringe Mast was a late scratch because of an illness. Sounds like the big man got a cold or the flu or something along those lines and could not go. We knew Frager wasn't playing because of the ankle injury he sustained. But when you go in there and these 2 guys, you run everything through these 2 big guys, and neither were available. The fact that this was as close as it was, Donnie, on the road, kudos to Nebraska for almost pulling it off.
By the way, how about a tale of 2 halves? 50-48 at the break. Second half, Michigan 27, Nebraska only 22. You want to talk about some defensive changes in the locker room for Michigan that absolutely worked, and certainly from both sides. And also, this game was tied up late with about a minute to go. Nebraska gave it all. It's still a good look. They've got a loss now. 20-1 on the season, which includes 9-1 in the Big Ten. Still a very good basketball team. The expectations were a double-digit victory possibly for Michigan. So if we were talking, Joe, yesterday about the betting public, they probably were loving the fact they were getting close to double digits and just laid the hammer anyway.
Yeah, they did. I mean, believe it or not, there was a lot of money that was coming in on Michigan throughout that day, especially, Donnie, once the injury report came out and they realized that they would not have not just one big man, but both their big men likely weren't going to go in this. Boy, that money kept flying in on Michigan there. And then ultimately, a guy off the bench in the second half, Donnie, defensively had to spark Michigan because, my goodness, if they would have lost this game at home, that would have been rough sledding for them to win a Big Ten championship for sure. But I got to tell you, Nebraska, pretty impressive in the loss, Donnie.
Indiana at Assembly Hall was popping last night. Indiana took a 40-29 lead into the break, hung on for a 72-67 victory over the Purdue Boilermakers yesterday, and a nice little upset for the Hoosiers in the Hoosier State.
Yeah, I mean, Purdue's in trouble, man. Matt Painter is in trouble. That's their 3rd straight loss here, Donnie. And, you can forgive them losing to Illinois, coming out of, a 10-day trip out west where they played 4 games in 10 days. You can, that's forgivable. But, then all of a sudden, now a couple of days later, you go to Indiana, who has now historically given them some fits. They got embarrassed last year at Assembly Hall, but you would have thought that a team that was back against the wall, needed a win, would have shown up last night, and they did not. Kudos to Indiana, but 40-29 in the first half, Indiana. Most points they've scored in the first half, Donnie, and that was all she wrote.
Let's take a look at a little Big East basketball tonight. Madison Square Garden takes center stage. The Butler Bulldogs in town to take on St. John's, a 12.5-point favorite for Rick Pitino's boys. If we take a look at St. John's, the most efficient offense in Big East play, it's them. You know, one of the worst defenses efficiency-wise in Big East play, it's Butler here. Do we have St. John's in a runaway tonight, Joe?
Yeah, it kind of feel Butler is interesting here. They can certainly put up some points. This feels like a dead over to me, though, Donnie. It feels like points, and more points. Feels like we're get ready for an over. I wouldn't sweat out an under in the Johnny's game tonight against Butler.
Yeah, good little basketball card tonight in college basketball. Same thing with the NBA as we sit here on a Hump Day Wednesday on the SportsGrid Network with many more topics to come ahead for us here. We're going to do that next. It's Donnie Rightside, Joe Ranieri. Cup of coffees in the morning, staying warm. It's what we do. Come on back. Take the people down victory lane, Joe. Where are we going tonight?
Well, Donnie, we're going to go back to college hoops here tonight. Even though my Red Hawks won, they could not cover the spread last night, but they remain undefeated. But I'm going to go and continue to fade the Baylor Bears tonight, they are a hot mess, this team. And the Cincinnati team, who had to travel out west Arizona to get embarrassed there in the second half. No shame in that. But what Cincinnati is very, very good at home. They're 10-2 at home this season. And one of those losses, by the way, was a 67-60 loss to Houston. So no shame in that either. This is a team that loves to defend. They bring the pressure. And Baylor is a team that struggles to do anything consistently. So I think Cincinnati's defense, the fact that they're home, I like them to be able to win and cover this game, the 3.5 here tonight.